Jumping right back into the action on today's show, the in-season version of Hard Knocks is going to be exciting. As a fan of television entertainment, the NFL and HBO announced that the AFC North was chosen as the Division II feature on the in-season version of Hard Knocks this year. The first time ever they're focusing in on an entire division rather than just one team. And if you guys have been watching Hard Knocks, keeping up with it, the off-season version, the one that we're in right now, is following the New York Giants. And then once we're into training camp, it's going to switch over to the Chicago Bears. But back on the in-season version, AFC North, chosen as the one to feature on the show. And good and bad comes with it. You know, the good as an entertainment standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint, I think it'll be a lot better having a lot of different perspectives and just a lot of different environments surrounding football, and how they're also closely related, with the Ravens maybe following the Steelers and how well they're doing. How does a Bengals win or a Bengals loss affect the Browns in any way? That aspect of it I think is really intriguing, and also just like I mentioned, getting the perspective of John Harbaugh and Derrick Henry and Lamar and Deshaun Watson trying to make a name for himself again with the Cleveland Browns, Joe Burrow coming back from his injury, the Steelers managing their quarterback situation. It's all going to be very awesome to just watch and keep track of from a fan perspective, but from a player perspective, the longtime Steelers veteran captain Cam Heyward addressed how he felt about it on his podcast originally, and he said that flat out, he said, "I hated it. I don't want to be on this." And he also said that the clips from Hard Knocks could be taken out of context, and it's just almost inevitable that once you have cameras in your face, that you're not going to at least act a little bit differently. From his perspective, that's really what he fears. He doesn't like the fact that some guys are just going to act differently and they're not going to be themselves just because the camera's in their face, acting as that distraction that makes everyone a little bit more uptight, makes everyone a little bit more uncomfortable while maybe they're in meetings interacting with each other, and then it just gets weird. If you know a guy's not acting the right way or just not acting like himself. So I can understand that, but Cam Heyward actually went more in depth on that specific topic in a statement that he made recently. I'll bring it up for you guys here. He said it a pretty long-winded explanation, as you couldn't see there. He said, "The locker room is the locker room, and I just don't want that getting messed up. There's so many inside jokes, so many people. There's so many people, like, you would assume everybody's a jerk if you heard everything, but it comes from a loving place, and it comes from a caring place. We all want to be better, and we joke a lot. We poke and prod at each other, but it doesn't always come off that way, and so that's the only thing I really worry about." And again, it's a fair point, just a longer explanation on more cameras being in and around the locker room, especially in some tight situations, because you don't know how the season's going to play out. No one knows how good they're going to be. If a team's good and the cameras are all in your face, I feel like that'll loosen you up a little bit more, because you don't have that weird pressure of acting a certain way or acting like... It's kind of weird in a situation because, say, the Browns or any team in this division are losing or in a bad situation or on a losing streak or something like that. If a camera's in your face, you almost want to act like it almost bothers you more in a way than it does show truly, if that makes sense. You almost want to show off to the camera that you're really locked in or you're really upset that the team's in a losing situation. And that part becomes weird with your teammates if they know you don't usually act that way. You're almost just putting on a show for the camera to make yourself look better rather than just being yourself. So those are the moments that I assume Cam Heyward is referring to. And also, if you're winning and if everything is going great for you, then maybe you don't act out so differently, sort of to play devil's advocate a little bit there. If Cam doesn't like it, just win and then it won't be a problem. I'm sure some people will say. So the risk really runs a little bit higher when you're losing and guys are upset that they're losing. They're annoyed of the fact that they're not playing well. And now you find out that this week it's your turn to have Hard Knocks in and around the locker room, in your business and stuff like that. A shorter leash for a lot of distractions, a lot of things with the cameras and things like that when it comes to things like this. So that's where it could become a little bit of a problem. Probably makes for great television if you have a guy lashing out or something like that, but from a player's perspective and as a Steelers fan, I when I first heard the news, I was really hoping it wouldn't be the AFC North. I knew people wanted to see the AFC North. I knew people wanted just to see all the behind the scenes things, the behind the scenes stuff of this division. The Ravens were great last year. The Bengals were 9-8, I believe, and they didn't have Joe Burrow. So how is he going to look when he comes back? The Browns were good; they were in the playoffs. The Steelers were in the playoffs as well. So I was hoping it wasn't gonna be them, but I knew they had a good shot of it. And like I've said, as a Steelers fan, I really didn't want this to be the case, just because I am in the same boat as Cam. I don't like the idea of just more eyeballs on the Steelers. I've always been a pessimist about it. When the Steelers are more of an underdog, I feel more comfortable because of the expectations on it. So now with people looking at it more, I can see where it could just become a bigger distraction if a personal interaction is caught on camera or something like that, and now it becomes a bigger story. You never know how the season will pan out, what sort of reactions, relationships, and things you're going to get from that nature. So that's my worry, similar to Cam Heyward, but it's weird with Hard Knocks because not a lot of benefits come from it when you're the team that's on it. You know, it's a benefit for the NFL for growing the sport, for growing it elsewhere, for people that aren't such big football fans. If they get a taste of the behind the scenes, maybe they'll get locked in and start following that team because it's interesting. But from a team, you don't really get too much from it. Maybe you get some extra fans, I guess, but you don't get any benefits from really the cameras being in your business and in the locker room, especially if you haven't done it before. I don't think the Steelers have ever done it before, so this will be something brand new for them in a season where there's a lot of change already going on with them. Like I've said, new quarterbacks. Mike Tomlin was extended, but that's, I'm sure, going to be a topic of conversation on Hard Knocks. Cam Heyward, what's his contract situation like? Nobody likes airing that out in front of the cameras or to the public, so that's another thing that could get a little awkward. Najee Harris also not the biggest fan of talking to the media from his actions recently. He's also on a contract year, so a lot of things could get a little weird, a little touchy with the Steelers especially. So I'm not looking forward to that if things boil over, but you can't do anything about it now. This series will debut on Tuesday, December the 3rd, which is between Week 12 and Week 13 of the NFL season. And with all the good points that Cam Heyward made, and I am an advocate for them and I am on his side, one of the benefits of it be a whole division is the fact that you're not every week getting the cameras in on different days or on the same days every week. That's the only positive I see from it. You know, if it was following just the Steelers or just the Ravens the entire season, that would be a problem, or at least the first half of the season, however they do it. That would be more of a problem because then it would be every week that you have these cameras in your face. And I don't know how they're going to distribute it, how they're going to set up each episode, but I assume it's going to be less in quantity each week with the cameras because they have to get the shots and episodes recorded around other teams rather than just yourself. So that's a little bit more of the pressure alleviated off of each of these teams. So that's a little bit better. But again, it's just a weird thing to have if you haven't been on it before, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's also, just based off the fact that this season is pretty big for a lot of these teams to have it focus in on this division. The Steelers just coming in, trying to get some more playoff success after what they've had recently in recent years. I think it's been almost 10 years since their last playoff win, so they have a lot of pressure with that and trying to resolve that. The Ravens, how do they respond after a very great year? They got, I would say, a little bit better, but they did lose some pieces as well this offseason, so how are they going to rebound? Bring in Derrick Henry, that's a huge storyline to follow. How does that all play into each other? Then with the Browns, very, very good defense, awesome defense. Then on the offensive side of the ball, Amari Cooper's holding out. How's that going to play out if he's going to re-sign before training camp, or maybe throughout the season it gets a little bit icy between the two parties if nothing's been worked out. If you don't want that airing out, you'd probably have to have that resolved, but that's another situation where it could get a little weird if Amari Cooper's not there or he's not fully there, if the contract negotiations take a long time. Same thing with Deshaun Watson. Frustration could boil over if he's not having the start of the season that he envisioned. And with the Bengals, similarly, more of a positive with them. They get their starting quarterback back, but on the defensive side of the ball, I feel like they've been stronger in the past than they are coming into 2024 with a very, I would say, just inexperienced unit, especially in that secondary where they're trying out different things right now. They're trying out a safety at corner and trying to get that transition to smooth out before the start of the regular season because it's looking a little bit low in depth at those spots. So with this all being all zoned in around Hard Knocks, all being, I'm sure, different aspects of what we're going to see on the show, it should be great television. It should be great for the NFL, especially with this division, probably the best and most competitive one in football. I was hoping it might have been maybe the NFC West or something like that to follow the 49ers. With the Bears being selected for the training camp version, I knew it wasn't going to be them. And then after that, there wasn't too many to pick from. Maybe the AFC South, but regardless of that, there wasn't too many to pick from. So the AFC North was always going to be the favorite. It's going to happen now. A lot of people, I think, are going to be big fans of it. I've been a big fan of the Giants one, only 2 episodes in, and it's already been very good. So hopefully it's not as dramatic for the Steelers when it does debut again on December 3rd, which is a Tuesday. You guys are probably all going to go check it out. I recommend you guys do. It should be good, but I'm a little bit pessimistic about it. Let me know what you guys think. Was it a good choice to select the AFC North, or would you have rather seen another division be featured on Hard Knocks? But with that being the case and being the ultimate decision up until now, we're going to move on to the next break of the show. And when we return back on the New York Jets, talking about the possibility of Davante Adams reuniting with Aaron Rodgers there in New York. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson give their opinions on it and how excited they are to have Davante Adams on the team. I'll give my thoughts and ask you guys if that's really necessary for Davante to join the New York Jets. That question and that topic are coming up after this break. Don't go anywhere.
Look